What if the fairy tale that captured hearts more than 30 years ago wasn't finished after all? What if Edward and Vivian's love story had another chapter waiting to be told? The world of Pretty Woman is opening its doors once again, and the trailer for Pretty Woman 2 has finally given us a glimpse into a story we never thought we'd see. Julia Roberts and Richard Gere are back, and their reunion feels like a piece of Hollywood magic that time itself couldn't erase. This isn't just a trailer, it's a wave of nostalgia, a reminder of why this story mattered and a promise that love doesn't fade, it only grows stronger with time. The trailer begins with a quiet moment, not with the flashy energy of Rodeo Drive, but with something more mature, more grounded. We see Edward, older now, standing in a city skyline that feels both familiar and distant. His gaze is steady but heavy, hinting at a man who has lived a full life, but also one filled with regrets. It's not just the years that weigh on him, it's the memories. And that's when the film begins to whisper to us, the past still lingers, and love, no matter how much time has passed, never truly lets go. Then the shift comes Vivian. She isn't introduced as the young woman we remember in her red dress, or in her wide smile that once lit up Beverly Hills. Instead, she's shown with elegance and confidence. Someone who has built herself from the ground up, someone who turned a fleeting moment into a foundation for a new life. She isn't the Cinderella figure anymore. She's her own queen now, and the trailer makes that clear in every frame. We see her walking through a world she earned, not one that was handed to her. And the weight of her presence tells us this isn't just about romance anymore. It's about legacy. When Edward and Vivian's worlds collide once again in the trailer, there is no need for words. The silence between them is louder than any dialogue could be. Their eyes meet, and it feels as though the decades have melted away in a single glance. This isn't the youthful spark of two people falling in love for the first time. This is something richer, deeper, and filled with history. The trailer doesn't scream reunion, it breathes it. And that breath alone is enough to pull the audience back into the magic. But beyond the nostalgia, there's a new layer here. The trailer carefully shows how time has changed them both. Edward's carefully built walls look weaker now, softened by age and reflection. Vivian's strength, on the other hand, shines brighter than ever. Where once she was seeking acceptance in his world, now it feels like he is the one stepping into hers. The balance of their relationship has shifted, and it makes their reunion even more powerful. As the trailer unfolds, it teases us with moments that echo the past. A fleeting shot of a velvet box closing, a subtle nod to the famous necklace scene, reminds us that the filmmakers know exactly what fans hold dear, but this time, it's not about a man giving a woman something to make her feel like she belongs. It's about two people realizing they've belonged to each other all along. Even through the silence of 30 years, the power of this first section of the trailer lies in its restraint. It doesn't rush to show us everything. Instead, it invites us to lean in, to wonder, and to feel the weight of time on two characters we've carried in our hearts for decades. Julia Roberts and Richard Gere don't need to speak a single word in those early frames. Their presence alone tells the story. Love never really ends, it just waits for the right moment to return. The trailer quickly shifts gears from quiet nostalgia into flashes of story beats that immediately pull us in. These aren't just random shots strung together. They are carefully chosen moments that paint the picture of a sequel built on memory, emotion, and the undeniable chemistry between Julia Roberts and Richard Gere. Every frame feels like it carries a secret, a breadcrumb that leads us deeper into what this next chapter has to offer. One of the earliest highlights is Edward stepping out of a limousine, a familiar image that instantly recalls the man we met in 1990, but now the camera doesn't linger on the glamour, it lingers on the man himself. His face carries the weight of choices, his posture less confident than it once was. The trailer suggests that Edward's journey this time isn't about conquering business empires or building wealth. It's about finding the parts of himself he lost along the way. This Edward is not the same man we left behind. He's more fragile, more human, and the change sets the tone for the film. Then comes Vivian. Her introduction is the trailer's heartbeat. We see her not as a woman being swept into someone else's life, but as someone who carved her own place in the world. The trailer shows quick glimpses. Vivian speaking at a charity gala, laughing with friends, walking through a gallery of art that reflects her own growth. These snapshots tell us she didn't just wait for a story to continue, she built her own. And yet, when Edward appears in her life again, we see that spark flicker in her eyes. That reminder of a love that once defined her. The trailer also teases supporting characters who may play pivotal roles in their journey. A young woman enters the frame, perhaps Vivian's daughter or a protege she mentors. Her presence hints at generational themes, the idea that love and choices ripple across time and through families. On Edward's side, we catch a glimpse of business partners who seem to represent the world he can't quite escape, a world that demands his attention even when his heart is elsewhere. These side characters add depth, suggesting that the conflict isn't just between Edward and Vivian, but also between the lives they've built apart. One of the standout moments in the trailer is a montage of Edward and Vivian revisiting familiar places. The iconic Beverly Wilshire Hotel appears once again, its presence almost as important as the characters themselves. The camera lingers on the entrance, a doorway that once symbolized a fairy tale beginning and now symbolizes a reunion. Decades in the making. In another shot, they share a quiet evening at the opera, a callback to one of the most romantic scenes from the first film. But this time, the focus isn't on Edward introducing Vivian to culture, it's on them sharing a memory, acknowledging the past while creating something new. Conflict rises subtly in the trailer, never fully revealed but heavily hinted at. There are moments of tension, Edward and Vivian standing apart at a party, their expressions caught between longing and fear. A scene of Vivian walking away in the rain, her red umbrella striking against the gray city, suggests that love won't come easily, even after all these years. And Edward, alone in an office lit only by the city skyline, hints that he might once again face the choice between love and the world he's built around him. The trailer doesn't answer these questions, it simply plants them, letting the audience wonder what will stand in their way this time. But perhaps the most powerful trailer highlight is the subtle recreation of the necklace moment. Instead of Edward snapping the jewelry box shut as a playful gesture, the trailer shows Vivian opening a small case herself, smiling softly as though remembering what it once meant. This isn't about gifts or status anymore, it's about memory. About holding on to the small details that made their love story so iconic. By the time the trailer moves into its final montage of Section 2, we see laughter, arguments, and tender glances woven together. The pacing builds, reminding us that this isn't just a nostalgia trip. It's a story with new stakes, a love rekindled in the middle of lives already lived. The highlight suggests that Pretty Woman 2 isn't rewriting the past, it's respecting it while daring to explore what happens when the fairy tale doesn't end with happily ever after, but instead with the question, what happens next? The true strength of the Pretty Woman 2 trailer doesn't just lie in its callbacks or its visuals. It lies in the way it speaks to universal themes: love, growth, forgiveness, and the search for meaning beyond wealth or glamour. What makes this sequel stand out is not just the promise of seeing Julia Roberts and Richard Gere together again, but the emotional weight that time has added to their characters. The trailer makes it clear, this isn't just another romantic comedy, this is a meditation on what happens when love returns after decades, when two people who once shaped each other's lives are given the rare chance to try again. One of the most striking themes is second chances. The trailer constantly suggests that life doesn't always go the way we expect. Edward and Vivian once found each other against all odds, but as life pulled them in different directions, their story seemed to end. Now, 30 years later, the possibility of love re-emerging feels both miraculous and deeply human. The film seems to ask, what would you do if you were given another chance at the one thing you thought you lost forever? This theme resonates not just with older audiences who have lived through similar questions, but also with younger ones who are just beginning to understand how time shapes love. Another theme that pulses through the trailer is growth and identity. In the original film, Vivian was the one adapting, trying to find her place in Edward's world of power and wealth. But now the roles feel reversed. Vivian has built a life on her own terms, and Edward is the one who appears lost, searching for grounding beyond his business empire. The sequel seems to explore how people change and how relationships must adapt to those changes. The trailer subtly hints that Edward must confront his past choices and embrace a softer, more vulnerable side of himself if he wants to be part of Vivian's present. Equally important is the theme of nostalgia and memory. The trailer doesn't shy away from echoing the past. We see small callbacks, the hotel, the opera, even the necklace, but they're not presented as gimmicks. Instead, they feel like emotional triggers, moments that remind both the characters and the audience of where this story began. The film is aware that its fans grew up with Pretty Woman. Many watched it as teenagers or young adults, and now those same viewers are older, carrying their own stories of love, heartbreak, and reconciliation. By weaving nostalgia into its core, the sequel taps into a collective memory. Turning the film into more than just entertainment, it becomes a shared reflection on time and love. The trailer also hints at the theme of forgiveness and healing. We see glimpses of tension between Edward and Vivian, moments where old wounds seem to resurface. These flashes suggest that while the film will celebrate romance, it will also confront the reality of relationships. Forgiveness is never simple, and healing takes courage. If the first film was about taking a chance on love, the sequel seems to be about finding the strength to let go of the past and move forward. This adds a level of maturity rarely seen in romantic sequels and gives the film an emotional core that could resonate far beyond its genre. Another layer to the story is the exploration of love later in life. Hollywood often focuses on young love, on first kisses and whirlwind romances. But Pretty Woman 2 dares to ask, what does love look like when you've lived a lifetime already? The trailer shows Edward and Vivian not as starry-eyed dreamers, but as people who know the cost of love, who know that happiness doesn't come without sacrifice. This makes their reunion more powerful because it isn't naive, it's a conscious choice. It's love born not from impulse but from wisdom and experience. The trailer also suggests a strong female perspective. Vivian is no longer the woman being rescued. She doesn't need Edward to give her confidence, purpose, or identity. Instead, she stands as his equal, if not his guide. This evolution reflects the way storytelling itself has grown since the 1990s. The sequel honors the original while also embracing a modern lens, one where women's stories are about independence, strength, and choosing love without losing themselves. Vivian's transformation is central to this theme, making her character not just the heart of the story but also its voice. By the time the trailer reaches its final emotional beats, the themes intertwine into one clear message: love is timeless. But it is never simple. The trailer doesn't promise a fairy tale ending, it promises a journey. A journey where nostalgia meets reality, where forgiveness meets passion, and where two people must decide if the love they once shared is strong enough to survive the tests of time. This emotional core is what elevates Pretty Woman 2 from just another sequel into something potentially profound. It isn't just about revisiting Edward and Vivian, it's about revisiting ourselves, our memories, and the stories that shaped how we see love. And that's what makes this trailer not just exciting, but deeply moving. As the trailer reaches its final stretch, the energy shifts once again. The music swells, blending the charm of the original score with a richer, more emotional arrangement. Quick flashes of Edward and Vivian fill the screen, not just as echoes of their past selves, but as two people standing firmly in their present. These images aren't designed to spoil the story, they're meant to ignite anticipation, to remind us that the journey ahead is one worth taking. One of the last glimpses we see is Edward, dressed in a tuxedo, standing in a hotel lobby that feels eerily familiar. His eyes scan the room, searching, waiting, and then Vivian steps into frame. She isn't introduced with fanfare or dramatic lighting. Instead, her entrance is simple, almost understated, but it carries all the weight of the story we've followed for decades. In that moment, the trailer doesn't need dialogue, because the look on Edward's face tells us everything. After all this time, she is still the one. The trailer then cuts to flashes of conflict, laughter, and quiet intimacy. We see Vivian sitting across from Edward at a dinner table, her expression serious as though they're confronting truths long buried. We catch a glimpse of Edward extending his hand, only for Vivian to hesitate before taking it. These moments aren't just romantic, they're raw, human, and filled with tension that suggests the sequel will not rely on cliches but will instead dig deeper into the complexities of real love. But then the tone shifts once more into hope. A final montage shows them walking side by side through a city at night, the glow of streetlights surrounding them. We see laughter breaking through the tension, Vivian's smile lighting up the frame the way it once did, and Edward's guarded expression finally softening. These fleeting moments give us the promise that no matter the challenges, this story is heading toward something meaningful. The trailer closes with a single, breathtaking image. Edward and Vivian on a balcony overlooking the city. The camera pulls back, leaving them as silhouettes against the skyline. No words, no grand gestures, just the quiet, undeniable presence of two people who found their way back to each other. The screen fades to black and the title appears, Pretty Woman 2, the next chapter. It's simple, but it hits with the force of nostalgia, love, and anticipation all at once, and this is where the hype truly begins. This isn't just another Hollywood sequel, it's a cultural moment. For fans of the original, it's a chance to relive one of the most beloved romances ever put to screen. For new audiences, it's an invitation into a story that has already proven timeless. The reunion of Julia Roberts and Richard Gere isn't just casting, it's a reminder of why their chemistry became iconic in the first place. Beyond the nostalgia, though, there's something much larger at play. This film promises to explore themes that Hollywood rarely gives the spotlight: love after decades, forgiveness after mistakes, and the courage it takes to embrace a second chance. It's not about fairy tales anymore, it's about reality, about finding beauty in imperfection, and about choosing love not once but again and again. That is what makes this story powerful, and that is what the trailer captures so beautifully. By the end of the breakdown, one thing is clear: Pretty Woman 2 isn't trying to replace or overshadow the original. Instead, it feels like a natural continuation, a respectful sequel that honors its roots while stepping boldly into the present. It recognizes the magic of the past but refuses to get stuck there. Instead, it dares to ask what happens after happily ever after, and in doing so, it promises a film that could resonate across generations. So, as fans, we're left with a question that lingers long after the trailer ends: will Edward and Vivian finally find the love that slipped away, or will life pull them apart once again? The trailer doesn't give us the answer, and that's what makes it so effective. It leaves us yearning, waiting, and counting down the days until we can see the full story unfold. And maybe that's the brilliance of this moment. In a world filled with reboots and sequels, Pretty Woman 2 stands apart because it isn't just bringing characters back, it's bringing feelings back. It's reminding us of the butterflies, the laughter, and the tears we felt the first time, while also promising to give us something new, something deeper, something unforgettable. As the final notes of the trailer score fade, we're left with a powerful truth: love doesn't follow rules, and stories don't always end where we think they will. Sometimes, if we're lucky, they give us a second chapter. And for Edward and Vivian, for Julia Roberts and Richard Gere, that chapter is finally here.